right, I'm going to start things off. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see all of your faces. My name is Annie Gilbert Coleman. I'm Director of the Minor in Sport, Media, and Culture, and I am really delighted to invite you all to the first of three alumni in the sports industry panels that have been organized by Dorothy Kozak and Pat Collins, particularly at the Marullo Center for Career Development in collaboration with the SMAC minors. So before we do anything, I would like everyone to just get your little emojis going for Dorothy and Pat, who have put in a lot of great legwork to put together a great panel for tonight. And also please mark your calendars for Tuesday, October 24th and Tuesday, November 14th. We've got two more panels coming up that I'm really looking forward to. But tonight is a group of alumni who are working in the professional sports world. My job mainly is to introduce our student moderator, who is Madikit Chiarieri, who's a business analytics major and a SMAC minor. She works with the men's lacrosse team as a student manager and also doing analytics. She's president of the Sports Analytics Club and has interned at Major League Baseball and also the Chicago Blackhawks. And she's served as a fellow for Women in Sports Tech, and we'll have a representative from Women in Sports Tech coming up on our next panel as well. So I'm going to let Madikit take over from here, and thank you all for coming.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll just start off by introducing our three panelists today. So first we have Mike Wade, who is the class of 1989 here at Notre Dame. He is a highly accomplished senior communications and marketing executive specializing in sports entertainment, and his career spanned over 3 decades. Mike served on the communication staff at the NBA for 18 years as the league's director of team business and partner communications. There he helped to oversee communication strategies, supporting the league's area of global content and media, team marketing, finance, global strategy and innovation, and corporate communications. Prior to working there, he provided his expertise in strategic planning and communications to organizations like ESPN and the NFL, as well as a wide array of top sports marketing agencies. Mike began his career at Notre Dame as a college sports information assistant, working for legendary sports information directors Roger Valdiserri and John Heisler, including during the Irish's 1988 national championship football season. Next, we have Allie Archer. Allie is originally from New York, and she graduated from Notre Dame this past May. She majored in business analytics, worked as an equipment manager with the football team, and for a few years did some work with the Sports Analytics Club in football. Last summer, she interned with the San Francisco 49ers, working mainly in their football logistics and research and development departments. And she currently lives in Nashville, working with the Tennessee Titans as the Amy Adams Strunk Woman in Football Fellow for the season. She works in the football research and development department that was recently established under new leadership there. Finally, we have Alexa Coubal, who graduated from Notre Dame in 2019. While she was a student here, she was a member of the track and field team, and she also worked in recruiting for the football team, freelanced for the Associated Press, and wrote her senior thesis on hip hop and basketball in New York City. After graduation, she started working for the Los Angeles Rams in ticket operations, starting at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum and then opening up SoFi Stadium. She did everything from working training camp, managing a box office, to handling player tickets, and she ended her 3-season run with a Super Bowl victory. She now is in operations for the Ringer podcast network at Spotify, where she oversees ad campaign execution for 50 podcasts, including the Bill Simmons podcast and the Ryan Russillo podcast. She also oversees new podcast launches, helps with talent tracking, podcast programming, live events, and a myriad of other things. So to get started, we'll start off with Mike. Mike, what does your day-to-day job entail, and what do you do?
So for the past 30 years, as you've noted, I've been focused on the sports communication side, which is the PR side. And that role entails promoting the athletes, promoting the events, the executives, and the wide range of business initiatives being launched by the NBA. And prior to that, it was places such as ESPN and the NFL with their various business initiatives. So it's not just talk about the opportunities in the sports industry. It's just not about what takes place on the field or on the court. There's so many. The business itself is so wide and so immense, and there's so many opportunities for people to explore.
That's really great. So how did you get there? What was your journey like? And what kind of tips or advice can you give to Notre Dame students who are interested in winning sort of internships and jobs within the sports industry?
You know, it's so great that I'm on this call with women because I literally followed in my sister's footsteps, meaning her high heels, as she likes to joke on me. She was a St. Mary's student. She was a few years older than me. She had a conversation with one of the basketball players, and he was talking to her about the sports information department at the university, which is the communications, the PR department. And she says, I have to do that. And she walked over to the Joyce Center and walked into the sports information office and walked into Roger Valdesari's office and said, you need to hire me. And he looked up from his desk and said, you can start tomorrow. And that led to a Hall of Fame career for her. She went on after she graduated from St. Mary's and devoting 3 years to the university, to Manhattan College, where she was the youngest sports information director at 22 in the country. She would go on to USA Network and then on to CBS Sports, where she spent 18 years as their chief communications officer. So I had a big role model, and I've tried to fill those shoes and have had a very difficult time during my process. So when she graduated, Mr. Valdesari took me on, and I had 4 wonderful years at the university, having experienced Tim Brown winning the Heisman Trophy, the football team winning the national championship, some incredible seasons by Digger Phelps and the basketball team, and the start of a Hall of Fame career by Muffin McGraw. So when I left the university, I just, kept on exploring opportunities and took some small steps with the Atlantic 10 Conference. Then I eventually ended up with the NFL's World League of American Football, its international league. Went on later on in my career to work with ESPN, where I spent a few years on their business communication side before in 2006 joining the NBA, where I was with them for 18 years.
Sorry about that. What a great story. I love that you kind of had a woman leading your way through your career.
Yeah, I would just say, there's so many opportunities, and when she started out, there was few opportunities. It was kind of, a little strange for a woman to be in that position, but she's made some major steps and has been a trailblazer, along with people like Hannah Storm, who's certainly been a Notre Dame grad, who's been a trailblazer in the broadcasting side. So it's great. There are opportunities, and women should not, let that be a deference for them. They have just as much opportunities as the guys do.
Definitely. We'll switch over to Allie really quick. So Allie, what do you do on your day-to-day, and kind of what was your path to the job that you now have?
Yeah, so undergrad, I worked as a student equipment manager for the football team. And within the building, I gained a lot of connections and a lot of really great relationships. And so that granted my opportunity out at the San Francisco 49ers. There's a lot, the Bartolo family is the same family out with the San Francisco 49ers. So I got really, really lucky in that. So I think that's one of my biggest tips is if you get an opportunity, go for it. It might not be exactly what you're looking for, but any opportunity is a chance to prove yourself and gain connections, and just a way to get your foot in the door is honestly the biggest piece. So after that, I just kind of kept networking, and then continued working through my senior season. Then I was recommended to the NFL Women's Forum, and I was fortunate enough to do that in Indy last February, beginning of March, right during the combine. And there was kind of when I made the most connections. And then interviewed with a few different teams. I had opportunities here and also at the Chicago Bears. I felt here would be a really cool spot and opportunity because they just started the research and development department. So this is like football. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like football analytics. So anything from scouting to cap to coaching decisions and basic things. So it's been really, really cool. So day to day, it kind of changes depending what day of the week we're in. Earlier on in the week, I'm usually doing some more modeling, some more research, also working with just kind of organizing our database, kind of getting things structured the way we would like. And then later on in the week, I'll do some stuff with our cap data and then just kind of whatever one offs I get. It'll be anything random from building a new table in SQL to finding a piece of data somewhere else or doing research into something for somebody. So, but if I could give my biggest piece of advice, it definitely would be just have an idea of where you want to go, but be open to any opportunity that may come your way because unfortunately you might hear no more than you say yes, but any yes you can get is a chance. It's a way to get in. So that's probably my biggest push there.
Great. Thank you so much. And finally, Alexa, we'll switch over, same question. So kind of what does your day-to-day basis look like in your job, and what was your path to your role?
Yeah, so when I was with the Rams, I was in ticket ops, and when I was looking for jobs when I was about to graduate, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I'm from the Thousand Oaks area where the practice facility is for the Rams, and so I knew that Rams are in my hometown. There's opportunities. I can move back home. Let's just see what happens. And so I applied for the ticket ops internship, and I got it. And so my day to day really changed a lot throughout my 3 seasons. So being in ticket ops, you have a million things that you're in charge of. And so we primarily dealt with our season ticket members. So I think we had about 40,000 season ticket members. And so like my first season at the Coliseum had just undergone a major renovation. And so there were days when I literally had to climb up and down the stairs and make sure that whatever seats that the stadium told us was actually there. And going and sitting in seats, and are these obstructed or are these okay? And having to do that kind of stuff. And I also ended up having to do that SoFi, because surprisingly for a brand new stadium, there was a lot of seats that were obstructed and just not great. And I would say my last season was probably the most challenging because I was dealing with bigger projects like player tickets and having to kind of balance, hey, like this guy who's more experienced wants these amount of tickets, but I only have this amount. So like, how do I fix that? Or like, where am I going to find these extra tickets at? And what else did I do? It was a lot of like technical computer work. Like ticket ops is definitely not like the most glorious job, which I learned really quickly, but it's the job that it's actually great because everybody always wants tickets and they come to you, and then you end up meeting a bunch of different people. And it actually helped me learn a lot about the business too. So my day to day when I was with the Rams, it really varied depending on just different things that popped up. But that was like the most fun part about it was there would be a new project and always getting to help. Like when it came to the Super Bowl my last season, like working on different projects for that, like I had to give the NFL, like the league, a manifest of all of the seats so they knew how much that they had to sell, and like which seats were okay to sell, which seats were obstructed. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And then I would say to get those kinds of opportunities, my biggest thing I always tell anyone is take advantage of the opportunities on campus. And so when I was a student, I worked for our football team. I got to freelance for the AP for 2 seasons covering the football team. And like that was an opportunity that I got based off of Annie's sports and American culture class. Like there was a Facebook group and there was an alum who was like, hey, I have an old coworker who's looking for a student who wants to work for the AP. Anyone interested? And so I was like, well, why not? And so I just emailed the guy and ended up getting it, and got to see, football from a different side of it, like as a journalist, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, like I'm sure a lot of people here too have some connection, like working for the football team. Like, yeah, it might not be the most glorious thing. Like there was days where my only job was to move trash cans from one room to another. But at least like you're there, you're in the building, and you're getting some kind of experience. Because I think the worst thing that could happen is that you go to apply for these kinds of jobs or internships or whatever, and you don't have any experience. Because I've had seniors like reach out to me, hey, I want to work in sports, what should I do? And they have done nothing in their 4 years on campus. And especially when you go to a school like Notre Dame, where you have like high profile programs, whether it's football or the women's basketball team, or anything, like there's opportunities on campus. So I would just take advantage of everything that you can do on campus. And yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, is taking advantage of what's taking place at the university. It seems like the opportunities have grown to the nth degree from when I was there. When I was there, you worked for the athletic department, you worked for sports information, maybe you worked for the Observer, but there's so many opportunities, as Alexa pointed out, to kind of get your feet wet, and just to take advantage of it and learn a little bit about the business, which you can take to the next level or after you graduate. And then also, what Allie pointed out, just using the networking of people, just tapping into that, because our network is so extensive, and the network's looking for good people to work for them, and why not, bring Notre Dame people on in the process.
Definitely. Thank you for all those great pieces of advice. Alexa, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your work with the Ringer and kind of what your day-to-day there looks like in comparison to the Rams.
Yeah, so actually, what I'm really thankful for is that a lot of my work with the Rams has translated really well over to the Ringer. And so I still do a lot of like technical computer work. So I handle like the bulk of the ads that come in for like our Ringer studio. So at Spotify, in the podcast vertical, we have like Spotify Studios, and then we have the Ringer, which is its own independent studio that was acquired by Spotify in 2020. And so I handle all the ads that come in for our, like, I think now 60 pods. And so that's like a really big part of my job. And then I handle like talent tracking. So we have hosts that are like Ringer employees, so our internal hosts, but we also have like external hosts. So people like Ryan Russillo, like Rachel Lindsay, Van Lathan. And then I also handle whenever we launch a new podcast, like I build out the feed. So it shows up like on Spotify, Apple, Google, everything. And whatever issues come up, like out of that, I'm the person that handles it. So like just a couple weeks ago, randomly for one of our shows, like the Google podcast feed, it was showing a completely different show or different podcasts. And so like I'm the person that has to figure out like what the issue is and fix it. And then also whenever you're in an operations role, you're always kind of just like a Swiss Army knife. Like you just kind of have to know how to do everything and help with everything. And so whenever we have like live events for our podcast in the LA area, like I'll help our events manager with those. So like next week we have a show for the Ryan Russillo podcast. So I'll help out with that. I also like get to handle travel, like booking travel for our podcast hosts whenever we do have live events. And then right now I'm currently in the process of trying to launch like a women's basketball pod. So I'm in the process of writing a proposal. So that's fun, exciting, and I hope it gets to happen. And yeah, so it's really a lot. But that's what I love about like an operations role, is that almost every week, month, like something new is happening, and I get to have my hands in a lot of different things.
Amazing. So Mike, I wanted to jump back and ask you, with such a successful career, how did your daily work kind of change over the course of your career throughout the couple of jobs that you had, and yeah, just how did it change?
Sure. I think probably my years at the NBA is a great example. When I first started with the NBA, I was just focused on media, our media partnerships with Turner and ESPN, as well as overseeing the promotion of NBA TV and NBA.com. So as you know, as I was more and more there at the league and more, interested in getting involved in other areas, I took on roles such as promoting team marketing aspects, such as the jersey patch, which the NBA launched in America, from our finance, looking at the private equity initiatives and programs such as NBA Equity and NBA Launchpad, the business of the WNBA. I took on corporate communications, positioning our executives for speaking engagement and interview opportunities. So it just was a more wanting to know more about the business, and also realizing not to work in the silos, because what you do in one area is going to cross over to other areas. And that's where I saw so much opportunities for people, particularly Notre Dame grads, is you can be a lawyer and work for a league or a team. You can be an accountant and work for a league or a team, and a business manager. So there's you just don't need to come from a sports business or sports management program. If you're interested, there are plenty of opportunities there.
Definitely. That's for sure something I've seen over the course of my couple of internships as well. Annie, I saw your microphone go off.
Oh yeah, I have a million questions, but Madikit, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in professional sports as well?
Sure. So let's see. Last summer of 2022, I interned at Major League Baseball in their in their brand partnerships, with their brand partnerships team in the marketing department. So that was, for the most part, kind of dealing with branded content that was getting posted on the team's social media. So our role was kind of being the middleman between the league-wide sales team and the individual clubs, and kind of emailing back and forth about, what logos needed to be posted on what videos, and what companies had campaigns that were running when, for example, I think there was a Dunkin' one. Whenever there was a grand slam, the teams would have to post the highlight of the grand slam with the Dunkin' logo in the corner. So all of that kind of stuff, just being the communicator back and forth between the league and the teams, was majority of my role that summer, which I was also both lucky and unlucky that right as I was starting, someone on the team, she got a new job. So she was leaving at the very beginning of that summer. So I was able to take on a lot, in that they were down a person that whole summer. They hadn't hired anyone new yet. So it was a lot, but it was a really, really fun and rewarding summer. And then this past summer, I got to be at home. I'm from the Chicago area. And I interned with the Blackhawks in their, they have kind of a relatively new business strategy and analytics department, which is kind of a new thing league wide in the NHL, specifically on their strategy team. And my project for the summer was looking into international strategy and how the Blackhawks can capitalize on the lack of restrictions that there are in the NHL in terms of international marketing and international play and all of that kind of stuff. So specifically in Mexico, which was where they wanted me to look, which was, you know, it was a super interesting topic, but also something that I was not expecting at all coming into the summer, for them to be like, hey, we want you to figure out how we can bring hockey to Mexico where there's 6 ice rinks. But it was also just a very, just a really interesting way to see that you can work in sports and kind of have involvement with all this random stuff. We did a couple projects with the Native American tribe that the Blackhawks work with, which was super cool to get to learn about all of the cultural aspects there and how the team works with that tribe. And yeah, just 2 very different but very rewarding summers for sure.
Can I ask one question, Madikit, and then do you want to turn it around for all the Q&A?
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for thanks for letting me ask this question, but this is for all the panelists. It strikes me that there is just a kind of a mind-numbing array of different jobs available in the professional sports world. So I have 2 questions. One is kind of, does it matter what you major in at Notre Dame? Or because, like, I know Alexa and Mike were both American Studies majors. Allie, you were business, right? It's amazing all the different kinds of things you have done with American Studies majors. So, you know, are there recommendations you have about sort of how to think intellectually and academically about what people are doing at Notre Dame? And then the second part is, it also seems to be that internships with franchises and league offices are kind of the primary avenue in, and I would just like to hear your thoughts on that. Allie, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, for sure. So starting with majoring, I would say it depends. I'm in a very tech heavy role. I've had to learn coding and all of that stuff. So that definitely was tailored towards what I wanted to do. Granted, 5 years ago, I did not think I would be in this position. So it was just kind of what I had the most interest in at the time. So I think a lot of my skills and a lot of my degree has carried over, which is kind of one of the biggest things that I wanted, was to be able to be in sports and utilize my degree. But at the same rate, I don't think that it's steadfast. Like, you have to, you know, major in this to get this kind of job. I think sports is so open to any ideas, and they just want people to bring some sort of value to the table. I don't really think they're going to obviously want some sort of qualification for certain things, but in my opinion, it'll depend what you're looking to do. But I don't think that you have to take this major to get this job or this major to get that job. At least from the experience that I've had. And then I forgot the second piece of that. What was the second piece again? Sorry.
There was internships. Are those like the
Oh,
magical entry point, or are there other ways?
I would say yes. I think kind of as Alexa mentioned earlier, you need to have some kind of experience. I heard a hiring director from the Colts say one time, like, we don't care what exactly it is. It could be volunteering for games. It could be doing something, like, show your interest in the field in some sort of sense. And I think internships and connections are obviously the way to go, I think, with just about any industry. So I would argue that yes, showing some sort of interest, whether it's, you know, volunteering for a game, having an internship, working for a team in college, I think that those are huge opportunities and just a way to get to know what's it like being inside of a sports building. I would argue it's probably a bit different than corporate America. So I think having that experience to being around like coaches or even the business side, I think that that's just such a key piece to know, like, kind of what you're getting yourself into. And it also, as we've mentioned, there's a lot of different avenues to go down. It gives you an idea of what else is there, because I know, like, when I first started, I didn't even know exactly all the kinds of roles that were open to me. So I think that it is a big way, and teams and I think especially, at least I'm speaking for football, teams want to see like that you have experience somewhere, interested, and you're willing to start, bottom up. Everybody starts as an intern in football, so everyone has to start somewhere.
I would say, just to jump off of that too, when it comes to major, nothing like upsets me more than when people ask me what I majored in, and they're like, "Well, what are you going to do with that?" Well, it's like, "Well, I've already done a lot." So, but I would say, like first, college is about getting an education. It's not job training. Like, your job is supposed to train you, unless obviously you're going to be a doctor or something. So I would say take advantage of being in college and exploring what you're interested in. Like, I absolutely loved all of my American Studies classes. I loved my professors. I obviously have a great relationship with them. Um, and it also allowed me to explore so many different things where, had I been like in a more maybe like traditional like STEM major, like it would have obviously been like a little bit different experience. But because of my major, that's how I got, like the AP opportunity. Like there was an American Studies alum who worked in journalism, and I would say, like, based on your classes, like wherever you could possibly put like a sports twist on it, like that, always go for that. Like my senior thesis, I wrote about hip hop and basketball in New York City, and I connected with a woman who works in the NBA, and she's also an American Studies alum, Colleen Mullen. If anyone has heard of her or met her, she's amazing, and she connected me with the Knicks and Nets, and so then I got to go shadow a couple of their games, and use that, for my thesis. And I know like other people too, if you have like if you're an econ major or something like that, like and you have to write a paper or do a project, like put a sports twist on it, like if you're whatever you're interested in, because that way at least if you go to like interview for something, you can be like, oh well, I did a research project on this and this is what I found, and like people will find that really interesting. And so there's a lot of different ways to use your classes to make to do something with sports too. So I would say like major isn't as important as people like make it out to be. I think like the vice president of sales for the Golden State Warriors majored in biology, and he was like, yeah, I've never done anything with biology in my life, so it doesn't matter like at all. um and when it comes to like the internships and stuff, that's definitely like a foot in the door like role. I think at the Rams, everyone on the ticket ops team, all five of us, all started as interns, as ticket ops interns at the Rams. Um, and there was a couple other people throughout the organization too who started out as an intern, and were able to build their way up. And just because you start interning like with one job or one department doesn't mean you have to stay there. Like one of my good friends at the Rams, she started out as like the receptionist, and now she's a manager in the partnership team. So like if you volunteer to help out with things, people always need help. And so if you say, hey, I have time, like what do you need? I can help you out. Like people will be more than happy to give you work. And it gives you an opportunity to prove yourself, but also meet more people in the organization. And when you show up and keep performing well, people will notice. And when new opportunities come up, like they will look internal versus hiring external too.
I would first start off by saying, please, please, please go get a degree. You spent 4 years there, walk out of Notre Dame with a degree. But as Ali and Alexis said, I mean, the great things about either working on campus or the internships is that, as I said, they give you a foot in the door, but open you up to that world. I was fortunate to work at Notre Dame, and when I was in college, I also had the opportunity to do an internship at NBC Sports. So I had coming out a knowledge of the sports industry probably better than a lot of people. So I had a knowledge of it, which I think appealed to when I applied for the job with the NFL's World League. They looked and they saw, okay, this guy's got Notre Dame and NBC Sports on his docket, so he knows something about the industry. And like I said, it opens you up, it opens you up to opportunities, expands your network. So, A, get that degree, and two, just, as part of your experience, just look for those, opportunities. And if you want to get involved, do it. The director of communications for the university, Dennis Digger O'Brien, had spent 19 years at NFL Films, was an award-winning producer director for them. And he had gotten up one day and believe he was an English major and decided, I want to work for NFL Films, and got his foot in the door for that. So again, that's what the internships provide you: a way in, a way to experience the business, which just going to class doesn't provide.
Great. So now we'd love to open up the chat to anyone who has any other questions that they'd like to ask Mike, Allie, and Alexa. So feel free to just turn on your microphone and chime in.
Yeah, I have a question. So we talked about, like majors and like what potentially, like what major could go to which job, and then, I guess we determined like it doesn't really matter. But what kind of transferable skills do you think would like take you far in these kinds of careers and these types of roles in the sports industry?
I would say, at least with American studies, obviously it's a lot of reading, writing, being analytical, like just thinking, and it teaches you how to communicate, but also kind of just teaches you how to interact with other people too. You can I think being an American studies major, being surrounded by very intelligent people and kind of listening to other people's points about certain topics, and like it opens you up to different thought processes. And I think just like being at the Rams and kind of like being able to be a little bit more analytical or like thoughtful, or being able to see 5 steps ahead too, and just being like, hey, are we thinking about this, or what are the potential outcomes of this? I think that definitely helped me out. And also with like the writing aspect, like it's surprising how many grown people don't know how to use there, and there. And so I think even just that kind of stuff, like I'm so grateful with like the rest of my class of American Studies majors. Like we had such an amazing class, and a really huge thesis class. And so getting to listen to everyone for a semester just talk about their projects and what they were working on opened up like my eyes to so much that I had never thought about before. And in turn, like going into the workforce, whether it's the Rams or even now, just being able to be like analytical, thoughtful, kind of seeing things from all different points of view, I think has definitely helped me out. And yeah, I think that's something, being surrounded by the kind of people that you're surrounded by every day at Notre Dame, like not everyone comes out like the same way as like not as like polished, I would say. So I like just take advantage of like the people that you're around every day too.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I would agree. I think that Notre Dame really teaches you how to like work hard and be proud of the work that you do. And being business analytics, like we also had to be super analytical and be able to not only do the work, but communicate why we're thinking the way we are, like what our thought process was. And that's something that my boss continues to push me to do every day, which I'm really grateful for, because it makes you take that step back and be like, okay, yeah, why am I thinking this way? And then I'll bring a different perspective than she will. And then that can also translate to other areas. So I think being able to add value in that sense is huge. And just kind of taking everything that Notre Dame gives you, really, regardless of degree, and just soaking it all in, because, like Alexi said, you're surrounded by so many different people and perspectives and views. So that's just so important to be able to soak that up and take that in. And then also kind of add that into your own little wheelhouse and toolbox.
Yeah, I think those are great points. Just opening yourself up, listening to people, really bringing in a team aspect with whatever aspect of the business that you're working on. I don't know how many days one time I had the treasurer of the NBA call me up and said, "How'd your day go?" And I said, "Well, I started off by talking about viewership, then I talked about our drug policy, then I talked about our finance, then I talked about scheduling," and went on for 6. And she says, "God, you have to know about everything." And I was like, yeah, you're right. So you need to, keep your eyes and ears open and work with your teammates, work with your coworkers, and listen to them. And I think the times you get into trouble is when you don't account for everybody on the team, and comes to, did you ask that 11th person what their thought is? So account for everybody, take it all in, and that goes back to what I learned at the university.
Mike, before everybody joined the call, you were talking about how the NBA has an extensive number of Stanford alums and that there is a Stanford through line and a Georgetown through line. What do you think that Notre Dame, for all the panelists, brings in addition to what's already been said about the intelligence and the opportunity? What is the additional, maybe unique or undefinable quality that sets apart a Notre Dame student that when interviewing for one of these internships or position, they should really lean into from coming from the school that they are?
Yeah. So what what Dorothy's referring to at the NBA, which I've observed, there's a lot of Stanford grads at the NBA. There's a lot of good Georgetown grads, and have only great things to say about those institutions, but they have a tremendous networking. And I think what we really need to do is improve our networking. I think when a Notre Dame person sits across from you, you're going to get a quality person. You're going to get a person with a lot of pride. But I think what the task at hand, as we move as an organization, is just the tremendous network and the tremendous skills of the people that have come before us. I mean, I mentioned, Hannah Storm as being one of the great broadcasters, but there's been Don Criqui, and there's Ted Robinson, and there's other people like Pete Pranica and Vic Lombardi. On the production side, we got, we had the legendary Don Omeyer, and we have Tim Corrigan, who's Kevin Corrigan's brother. Tim's the coordinating producer of the NBA on ESPN. So you can go far and wide, and we really need to kind of step up, and it's a group effort to develop the network more. So when that next wave of graduates is coming up and they're looking for an opportunity, that they can tap into that network. And some of these names, I'm just scratching the surface. So if anyone's listening and I've overlooked people, please forgive me, because we do just have this massive and great network of people out there.
I want to piggyback on that set of comments by Mike by making a plug for an event that's taking place on campus on Friday from 1 to 3. Mike is going to be there, and he's bringing some heavyweights from the NBA and from other places. So if you want an opportunity to meet some of these folks and to do some networking, 1 to 3 in the Duncan Center, look for it. There should be something in Handshake that that gives you all the information, allows you to an opportunity to register. But Mike's because of Mike, there's Tim Frank is going to be there. He's a senior person in communications for the NBA. He's bringing Gene Willis, who's a former producer with Good Morning America. Mike, there's probably some other people I haven't mentioned that will be there at this event from 1 to 3 on Friday. Who I missed?
Yeah, I'm rallying up some more people to go to, but this is the type of event that we need to take the opportunity for this weekend to get out there and shake their hands and just getting the insights of 4 people who have been in the industry. Well, there's more experts out there, and what an opportunity then this Friday to meet up with more folks.
Yeah. It's very informal. There's no formal program. There's food and drinks, so you'll be well fed. It's ended well before the trumpets at the Dome. They're intentionally ending it so that we don't interfere with any other traditions that go on campus. And these are folks that want to be there because they want to meet you. So if you have the time between 1 and 3 on Friday, please come. Dorothy, am I missing anything? Anything else that we should point out?
I would love to add that, of course, I'm out in Los Angeles, Pat's in New York. We are resources available to you on the regional team. We, through our positions, got to know Mike, met Allie, and now have met Alexa. And I think one of the key things for students is really thinking ahead and reaching out to what we are planning to build as a network of sports and sports career individuals from Notre Dame, so that we'd like to loop in alums of all different areas. We definitely need your help. We would love to identify more internships. There are some amazing internships in the leagues, in different sports franchises. It's imperative on you to start thinking now. It's October, about June and about next June. Don't wait until May and then reach out and go, hey, is there anything available in Los Angeles? There is, but a very smart graduate or undergrad has already snapped it up. So you've waited too long. Ditto in New York, ditto with finance, with business analytics. And Madiket, I would put a plug in for the organization that you are currently president. There are so many organizations, student organizations, that students should really be participating in, to then reach out to Mike or to reach out to Allie or Alexa or myself or Pat as part of that organization to demonstrate what Allie and Alexa leaned into as show some interest before you graduate. Give us something that we can build on your resume and then share with others.
Yeah, Dorothy won't be there on Friday, but I will be. I'll be there for the second half of the event. And so if you have any interest in being in New York, I'm a good person to talk to.
And Madiket, can you share about the student group just so everybody, mostly I'm sure people are aware, but spread the word?
Yeah. So it's Sports Analytics Club. We kind of have like an overarching club where we will have speakers in sports analytics. We had Allie come last week and talk to the club just about like their roles in analytics and what their day-to-day kind of looks like. And then we also run 7 individual analytics teams for our varsity sports on campus. So feel free to reach out to me if you're not involved and want to get involved.
Yeah, we have time for another question. I think you all know that the SMAC minor is like trying to bring together students who are interested in sports from across the university. I'm really happy to say that the group we admitted last spring, 25 undergraduates, represent 19 different majors and 4 different colleges. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm also really excited for this year's SMAC Fest, which is our end of year celebration for the SMAC minor. And we'll have some speakers, but the center will be seniors presenting their capstone projects, which Mike and Allie and Alexa, I don't know if I've talked to you about this. All the SMAC minors will do a 1-credit senior capstone class, which brings together their particular interests and major and career goals, and is an example of them sort of practicing the cultural politics of representing sports with an eye towards social justice and equity and equal access to participation. So I'm not in the industry, but I think those are great things to talk about in any interview opportunity. examples of creative, original things that you have done that represent you and only you. So are there any more questions? Madigat, do you have a question you want to ask, or shall we just bring it on home?
I think we're good to bring it on home.
All right. Well,
One other
Madigat,
thing, Annie, just to
Yeah.
add, geographically, I don't think we talked about this, but we have spread out just on this call, alums from all over the country. Be open to different opportunities in different cities that you might not have thought that you would land after graduation. If there is an opportunity that exists in an area that you've never been or you haven't landed before. I was from the East Coast, went to Notre Dame, came out to the West Coast sight unseen. Have been out here happily now 20 years. You might start thinking about different geographic areas, or really, as Alexa said, track the opportunity in front of you, even if it requires taking a risk that you haven't thought of.
Great. Well, I think that you all have just shared some amazing stories and wonderful advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you at the Duncan Center on Friday from 1 to 3 and on October 24th, Tuesday evening, when we have our next alumni panel. And I will say, please share this. I think the title is Women in Sports, but everyone is invited to participate in that panel. I'm looking forward to, and we've got a lot of different aspects of the industry represented there, including some nonprofits, which I'm excited to talk about. So thank you again so much. Good luck with midterms, students, and I will hope to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, before you sign off, I put the link to the handshake registration for Friday
Great.
in the chat. Make it easy for you. So
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Perfect.
panelists. Thank you,
Thanks,
Annie.
Pat.
very much so.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Thank you, everybody.
Mike, it's great to meet you.
Thanks.
I hope to see you on Friday.
Okay, great.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Are we off the air?
Yeah, I stopped recording. Yeah, I'll do my best to come by on Friday.
Right.
Love to see you in person. And I'm so glad, Mike, that you and Alexa got to meet each other virtually.
Oh,
I'm gonna check in with her since I was her thesis writer, thesis advisor. So
I have a feeling like if well, if the four of us were in a room, we'd really be able to exchange stories. Because I feel like Alexa and Allie probably did not get a chance to tailgate all 4 years that they were there because they were working on football games just like I was. And you know, Allie mentioned she was the head football manager. One of my best friends, Mike Green, was the head football manager when in '88 when they won the national championship. So I could go on and on, but if the four of us were in a room sitting at a table, we'd probably, you know so many people, and they're just out of school at this point. So I wanted to, as American, I think like a year ago or a couple of years, the NBA had done like some type of analytics event. And I was wondering if she participated, their group participated in that. I don't know if they're doing it again. So I will let you go. Go ahead.
I would just say, Mike, obviously Dorothy and Pat, they work at the Career Center. They've got things dialed in for all the students, but if you have any opportunities that you would like me to share with our SMAC minors, it's a really amazing group of undergraduates. They are, like I said, very diverse, interesting, talented, and I have a list. I share opportunities with those students, and I also have a list of about 200 students who are not in the minor but are interested in the minor or wanting to apply, or so I'm happy to I would love to share any opportunities you want to send my way. You can please feel free to do that.
Well, hopefully we'll see each other on Friday. Again, I'm amazed with all the opportunities going on there right now. And so much that they should be taking advantage of to learn about this crazy business. And it's a big business over there. It's a big business operation and continues to grow. So students should just be knocking on any door and getting, asking, can they work for free or anything?
Hey, did you ever know Jack Obringer?
Yes, I did. Yes. Love
So
Jack.
he's another American Studies alum. Alexa, did you meet him? He was a executive producer at ESPN Sports Center.
Oh yeah, he he came in and spoke like it was a little get together. Yeah, I remember meeting him. I think I have his business card. I might still have his business card actually.
You probably do. Yeah, because I remember his big piece of advice to my students was, get your toe in the door, show up, knock on the door. And after he did that, one of the students went to Connecticut and literally put their foot in his door.
Oh my God. He and I worked together in sports information, but he was doing a lot of stuff, I want to say at the time, with probably like WNDU. Like he was doing a lot of TV stuff at that time. So he was taking advantage of. And then he and I would talk when I was at ESPN a little bit, but then finally 5 years ago, we had a chance encounter. I was up in Bristol with some of our legends, and he just I turned and his face was looking at me through this glass door, and I was first who the hell is, and I was oh my God, it's Jack. So
nice.
Yeah. So crazy. Alexa, you're now at the Ringer full time?
Yeah, I've been here about a year and a half.
Where are you based? I'm sorry if I'm taking
I'm in Ventura County, so I'm about an hour north of LA. So the Thousand Oaks area.
Yeah. Do you ever cross paths? He's on the basketball side with Howard Beck. I think he just joined. Howard was with the New York Times and Sports Illustrated for years. He's mostly based in the East Coast. So
not yet. Unfortunately, a lot of fortunately and unfortunately, most of the Ringer is remote. So a lot of us are spread out all over the country. So I don't get a chance to meet our editorial team very often. I'm more with the podcast team. So yeah.
Well, let you two go to your work, but it was great talking to this crew. You're all making me feel inferior with all the things you've accomplished in your career.
So Mike, it's great to meet you. I'll definitely stop by on Friday and say hey. I'll bring you a hat.
And definitely if my sister is doing this thing with Hannah next week or the week after, I think Dorothy was organizing, you should tune into that because that will be a hoot.
Well, we talked about that. I need to catch up with Dorothy. So my hope is that Hannah and your sister will be interested in doing an event the night before our SMAC Fest in April. So the SMAC Fest where we celebrate all the minors and their capstone projects is usually the Friday afternoon before the Blue Gold game.
Got it.
And we've got some other programming for the minor that Dorothy didn't know about.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure, because there's always so much stuff going on campus, but I would love to make your sister and Hannah give them a space and room to.
Yeah, I don't know what Dorothy had decided what they were going to do, but you guys handle that.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Hope to see all of you in person in the near future. So.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great night.
All right.
And safe travels.
Okay. Thanks.
Alexa, you killed it.
Oh my God. I always, when I start talking, I think I start rambling and then I'm oh no, what did I say? What was the question? I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, no, you were great. You were great. And I'm going to tell Pete. Do you know Pete Chaika? You probably don't know Pete Chaika. He's the DUS in American Studies.
I've met him. Yeah, I think he started teaching after I graduated, but I've met him through just get-togethers and stuff.
Yeah. No, thanks for representing American Studies. That was cool.
Oh yeah, it bothers me so much when I have people ask me like, well, what are you gonna, what, like, what's that? What are you gonna do with that? And I'm like, I've already done so much. And we really do have a lot of alum in like high places
Well, Mike
throughout
Wade, who
sports.
knew?
Yeah, yeah. Or like Clean Mullen, the woman who like helped me with like my thesis stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna ask you, could you send me her contact info? I mean, I know you probably did back when you were writing your thesis, but now that I'm directing this minor, like pulling together
yeah,
alumni and especially the college, because the SMAC minors in arts and letters. And so the arts and letters people really want to promote arts and letters majors who are in the sports industry in different ways.
yeah.
And so that would be cool.
There's a woman who graduated when I was a freshman. She played softball, Casey Africano. She works for the Rams, and she
Mm.
just got promoted to like head of football affairs. Because like the two people ahead of her both left, and so she's like now really high up, like in the organization, doing really well. And I think that she'd be really great to reach out to, because I can't remember what she did after she graduated, but she worked for a little bit with like the TCU football team, and then like during COVID lost her job. Um, and but then I think she knew someone at the Rams or something, but she ended up coming in 2021 to 22. She was like a fellow, and then they hired her on, and now she's like head of football affairs. And so
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, send me an email with all the names you can think of.
Okay. Yeah.
And whatever
Yeah.
contact info or anything you know about them will be helpful. I'll do my best to follow up. This minor is just taken off, Alexa. I can't even tell you. It's all I can do to just keep up with the easy stuff.
Yeah.
And then Dorothy and Pat were like, we want to organize this whole thing. I'm like, great, go for it. But then putting it together, and I told them about you ages ago, but she's, so I'm really glad you could join. And I appreciate you a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I know like people help me when I was a student, and so I try to help whenever I can. And I know it can be hard to like reach people too. So, and especially if it's like a woman, then I'll always like make time. But like Mike was saying, or Pat and Dorothy, just trying to help to like Notre Dame pipeline. And just help wherever I can. Like, unfortunately, out here on the West Coast, there's not really a lot of Notre Dame alum in sports. You know what's actually funny is now I just remembered the team psychologist for the Rams. She's actually a Notre Dame track alum. I think Carrie something. I only met her one time by chance. And she was so nice. If I Google her, I'll be able to find her. But I
Because
think
we have some psych
Yeah.
majors in the SMAC minor. And we let in, I mean, it's so weird, Alexa. I got to say like what I want the minor to be. I get to make the requirements. I got to put the stuff up on the website. I get to help. I mean, we have a committee, an admissions committee, but like I decided our expectations, like our diversity, like that's what we're looking for. So, like I said, all different kinds of majors, lots of athletes, lots of women. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's crazy when I like meet these students and they're like, oh yeah, sports analytics club, and we did this and this, and I'm like, I think when I was during my time is kind of when this trend was starting to happen. Because there was Kyle, I think, who was in the career center, but he left after a year. But I actually did like a career trek with him, and we went to Chicago and visited a couple different teams and stuff. And then I know like James Biddick was like really pushing and trying to do that. Is he still at Notre Dame?
James, I love James. He had something happen with his visa, so he had to leave immediately. And I'm really hoping that he'll be able to come back. But so I don't know what's going on there, but I love him and want him to come back. And so yeah, the Career Center's been really weird because there's no one point person. So now I have like 5 different people on my SMAC faculty and friends email list associated with the Career Center, but they're doing all this stuff on Handshake, which is necessarily separate from, like, so when we did this event, I had to talk with the communications people in the Career Center and say, all right, we're going to send them all to the SMAC site to register for the Zoom, not Handshake. That was like a big deal. So
Handshake there's been so many different things, and I like forget my login every time. And I'm
okay, so that was an okay decision to send everyone to our website.
like if I can, just sign up, takes 30 seconds, name, email, we're good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fabulous. I can't remember what I was saying, but yeah, if you're ever back on campus, it would be great to see you.
I think I'm gonna try to come out in April. So one of my best friends, Kate, it's actually ironic. So she played softball, and we like same class, never met one time in our 4 years at Notre Dame. And then after we graduated, she ended up working down the street from me. Like I was at the Rams. She was like 2 miles down the road, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn and was like, hey, I think we work near each other. We're both alum. Like, do you want to meet up for coffee? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Because we, for some reason, we followed each other on Twitter, but like never met in person. And so then we met up, and now she's my best friend. And yeah, so, but they do Strikeout Cancer, like the fundraiser every spring with softball. And so I got to go this last spring, and it was a lot of fun. So I think I'm going to try to come maybe like a day earlier or stay a day later, so I can, because we were there like late Friday, left Sunday, so like it wasn't really time to do anything.
That wasn't the Blue Gold weekend, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Think Blue Gold might be like a later weekend.
It's usually
Strikeout
like
Cancer,
the 3rd weekend or something.
Yeah, Strikeout Cancer is the same weekend as the Final Four. So that was actually stressful for me because I was like, oh no, how am I gonna watch these games?
Right.
But yeah, I think I'll try to come out like in April.
Cool. Well, that would be great.
Yeah. And too, Mike would actually probably know Byron Spruell. I think I've never gotten a chance I've never reached out to him because I never found his contact info. But Byron Spruell is like president of like league operations for the NBA, and he's a Notre Dame football alum. And I think he might have been on a national championship team or like just after. But he and his son was, I think, in my class and played on the football team. And so I think Mike would know him. I think Colleen Mullen, I'll send you her info too, but I think she would probably be able to get you in contact with him. Because he oversees I think he's like one person under Adam Silver. One, two. Yeah. So
oh well, our old provost used to know Adam. She knows Adam Silver, but I never followed up on that.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out one thing that's been frustrating me a little is that the older people in the Career Center, I'll just say that, the people with the connections and the alums that have worked their way up to the top are all with the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball. But I want Notre Dame alums to get into the WNBA and the soccer leagues, especially the women's soccer league. Like, I want access to those.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a Notre Dame alum who just stepped down as GM of the U.S. women's national soccer team, and she's in Chicago. So she's on my list to try and connect with. But if you know of any WNBA people or like stuff like that, wouldn't that be cool? It would be cool, right?
No, the thing with working, because I've definitely looked into working like in the WNBA, the tough thing is that the number of jobs is like a quarter of what's available for like a men's team. So like the Lakers sales team probably has 30 people. The Sparks sales team has like 3 people. And so those or like the WNBA organizations are just so small, so it's so hard to get into them. Because like the Rams partnerships teams probably 30, 40 people. I think the Sparks partnerships teams like 3 people. Like they'll have like a director or like someone high level, and they'll have like 2 lower level, and that's it. Like it is so tough to get into, and the opportunities just rarely open up. So like
That
that's what
makes sense.
like I've looked a lot because I would love to work in the WNBA, but it is just so tough. And even at just like the like league office, a lot of those employees like kind of fall under the NBA, you know, like so that's that's really tough.
Right, that's the model.
Yeah, so it's even or because the league is so small too, when it comes to jobs, it's so much more who like word of mouth pulling people in. Like it's really tough. Like I've met a handful of people who worked at the Sparks, and it was definitely like, yeah, I knew the person there and they just brought me in. And so yeah, like I trust me, I wish like there was more alum in those spots, like at least like the players, like, you know, we represent really well, but I can't.
That's okay, no worries. No
Yeah,
worries.
I would I don't know, trying to think if there's anyone I know in college athletics, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Well, I have a giant database that the athletics department gave me with Notre Dame alums, and that's so big and so intimidating, and I don't have the time. I haven't opened it up. So what I'm doing now is I'm letting Pat and Dorothy do things, and I'm like filling in where I can. And I'm bringing in some academic, like some sports historian people, and sports and sustainability is a thing I'm getting more involved in. So we're going to do a panel about that in March, early March, that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really great to see like how big this is taken off. Like it's so exciting, and I'm so happy that like, you get to be the head of it all. So it's been cool.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It's
no,
cool. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it makes me so proud too, just like come from like the American Studies department, because like I felt like our major was the only one that really like kind of supported all like, you know, like sports and stuff. Like I didn't really have outside of American Studies, I didn't really have a lot of professors who cared about sports at all, or
well, we're working on that. We are working on that. And I met Luca Grillo, who's in the classics department, is a huge fan of the minor, and he's letting us he teaches ancient sport and society. So I'm like, you guys who want to go work in pro sports, go take that class. And I'm giving the minors who are coming from the business school, right, who just want to be management, marketing, yada, yada, yada. I'm giving them credit towards the minor for intro to gender studies, intro to American studies, right? Anything that gets them thinking about the politics of cultural production, like you get credit for that, even though sports aren't in the title. But I'm really hoping that we'll be able to make some hires this year for more faculty. We had an amazing faculty member who was like partly why this minor got up and running, and then she went to Duke. So we need to get a couple more bodies in here, but it's exciting. So Well, thank you again for your time, Alexa. I look forward to seeing you in April. And if there's anything, and thanks for that, any alums who come to mind, just send them my way. And if there's anything I can do for you ever, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. I'm always happy to help anytime. So always feel free to ask.
Thanks, Alexa.
All right.
Have a great night.
All right. You too.